Uh, I have a wonderful, amazing Rachel here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Dr. Shealy, who is usually here on the radio, on the program, I should say, he is taking a personal day. So we'll see him next week. But Rachel and I are going to talk about something very, very important. New Year resolutions. And basically what works, what doesn't work, and the pitfalls of the New Year resolutions, because we all have made New Year resolutions at some point that we have not kept. Rachel, you got something to...
Yeah, well,
any
and
thoughts on
actually
that?
kind of along the lines of New Year's resolutions, I am going to mention my study one last time because it will start in January when everyone is full of resolve. So if you think you have a few pounds to lose and would maybe like a little education and guidance, send me an email and we can see if you qualify for the study. So it's all about improving your metabolism, an educational component, and then of course some actual guidance. So.
And I'm just going to jump in and talk a little well what Rachel is doing. Rachel has been my coach for a while.
Yeah, I think we're going on about a year now.
About a
Yeah.
year, yeah. So again, I'm not always the ideal client, but I do my best at times. The concept is that a lot of folks who are overweight, sugar, blood pressure, cholesterol, spare tire, low energy, lots of different things. Insulin resistance, that's where it all starts. Insulin is one of the most essential hormones that affects everything. Sex hormones, growth hormone, it affects cortisol, it affects DHEA, anti-stress, defense system. It's everything.
And can I just interrupt for a second and
Please.
So many people, when I say, oh, have you had your fasting insulin tested? They say, oh, yes, it's fine. And I'm like, that's really unusual because not too many docs that are like you and that have that tested. And what they are actually referring to is their fasting glucose. And they are related, but they are not the same. Fasting insulin can tell us years ahead of time that your metabolism is out of order versus fasting glucose. So, yeah, sorry, that's just a little side rant.
No, you're right. The idea is, and this is kind of similar concept as, diabetes and pre-diabetes, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit about this, and then we'll get onto resolutions. But the same concept is that people, who... Well, in conventional medicine, especially providers, my colleagues, we are trained, we're conditioned, we are brainwashed into basically, okay, pre-diabetes, there's nothing to do. Nobody's going to do lifestyle. Nobody's going to do stress management. Basically, everybody needs pills or shots. Or surgery. That's the classical conditioning. So that's why it can make sense in the conventional healthcare system. You don't have to. The doctor doesn't really care much, or is not overly concerned about the sugar until it goes to hemoglobin A1C 6.4, which is literally an overt diabetes. But it's the same concept, and we talk about this idea of if a woman comes into an doctor's office, and says, "Doctor, I'm just a little bit pregnant." A little bit pregnant is pregnant. It's just early on. So you have to take that process seriously. In other words, if you consider pregnancy only in the second or third trimester and when the baby is coming out, well, that's a lot of wasted time and opportunity.
And, I think we can tie all of this back to actually goal setting, because so many people that want to be healthy or get healthy just, this is one of the pitfalls, is they say, oh, I'm just going to eat healthier, or I'm going to exercise more. The pitfall in that is that's very vague. There's a lot of pieces missing into taking that and making it a daily actionable step.
So let me actually start with an example, because I hear this a lot.
Okay.
And I've done it myself. So, Rachel, what's wrong or what's right with this concept? If, let's say, like, I'm coming to you as a health coach, and you are my health coach,
right? You're coming to me and
I'm telling you, okay, this my New Year's resolution in 2023, and I'm serious about this. Okay, I want to lose weight. I want to get stronger. I want to stay healthier. I want to.
Well, first of all, for you, specific. I usually get way vague.
Well, but the point is, I'm being as vague as I possibly can. And you hear that a lot from your people.
Yeah. So let's start with, what was the first thing that you said?
Okay.
You want to...
So let's say, okay. So first of all, I want to lose weight.
Okay, so let's start with that one.
Boom.
You want to lose weight. That is vague, it's nebulous. There's nothing concrete, there's nothing specific about it, right? So, and this, I'll be honest with you, I really don't like focusing on weight, but sometimes it's a jumping off point for people. So, how much weight do you want to lose? Right? So, we need a number. But before that, we need to reverse engineer why you even have this goal, right?
Boom.
So, why do you want to lose weight?
Yes.
Because if you don't have a powerful enough why, you'll never make the daily actionable, uncomfortable choices to get to your goal, right? And I can just tell you from experience, some of my clients, their whys are, and I say it's basic but they're not basic, because if you have a desire for it, there's a purpose for it, right?
Yeah, it reminds me Viktor Frankl, author of Logotherapy and survivor of a concentration camp. One of his favorite statements is something like that. I mean, but without the right why,
yeah,
there is no how.
That's exactly right. And I'm just going to give you some examples of what people have told me. One of my clients said she wanted to be able to ride the roller coasters. She was too large to be able to fit in a roller coaster. So it may sound simple and basic to us, but that was, this is a life-changing event.
That's life-changing event.
Yeah, exactly. I've had another client that said they just want to look good for a class reunion. I think we all understand you want to go back, you want to put your best face forward. And then sometimes I have people with what I call BAG, which is a big, hairy, audacious goal. Okay. And so some of my clients have been people that want to run 50 or 100-mile races. Now, I am saying that is the goal you should have, or that's even healthy, but if it's something you want to do, then it's going to help drive your daily decisions. So we have to get specific. Being vague, being broad, it just makes it too hard to nail down the daily actionable, right?
So same situation I imagine with people who are, say, coming to you and to me, of course, saying, I want to be stronger, I want to gain, I want to be more fit. What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. There are so many different ways. Actually, that's funny you say that, because I had someone ask me the other day, they said, I would like to be stronger. That's funny. That's really good. But when we started really talking, what they really wanted to do is be able to bench press more. So they had a very specific type of strength that they wanted. And if they hadn't clarified that with me, I'd be focusing on, well, let's get your squats up. Let's help make you flip giant tires, but I needed to know specifically what that goal is. So, of course, being specific is so important. But kind of to back up even from that, I want to lose weight. I want to lose 10 pounds. That is specific, right? But that's focusing on the end result. And that is one of the biggest pitfalls, is people don't want to focus on the daily actionable items, and they want to focus on the end result. Well, I'll just be honest with you. The end result is the piece we have the least control over. The things that you can do every single day, that's what you can control.
And this is where the yo-yo diets and this is yo-yo exercising and yo-yo everything literally comes in, or the zigs and zags. You start out, you have a strong foundation, you want to, you have desire to do something, and then again, if it's too vague or too non-specific or too far away, and you're not there, it's natural, or it's easy for people to get discouraged. And then what happens?
Yeah, and you get discouraged and you quit and you say, well, I tried, it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's another thing, is sometimes we get overeager with our goals. So you're going to do it, and you're going to do it all, and you're going to do it every day. And again, that goes back to setting realistic goals. If your goal is to lose 10 pounds, there's a lot of things you can do to help control weight, right? So we talk diet and exercise. But even when you say, I want to lose 10 pounds, I'm going to diet and exercise more, that's still really kind of vague. Tell me what you're going to do Monday through Sunday. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
If I were to start with somebody, we would start cleaning up the diet here and there. We would look and see, well, what are you eating for breakfast? What's your standard dinner? What's your standard fare? Where can we make a small, subtle change that you can continue on and on and on, right? Into perpetuity, because if you can't do it for 6 weeks or 6 months or 6 years, maybe it's not the best plan to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other interesting thing is when people get started on plans and actions. So usually it's all or none for folks, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so it's I'm either healthy or I'm not healthy. In other words,
Mhm.
I'm either exercising and 5 days a week or 7 days a week, or I'm not. And that's the other thing too, because let's say there's a bad week. Let's say there's a
And those happen. That's part of life. Yeah.
let's say you start out strong. You get in there, you feel good, and then you drop off. You drop off the wagon. What happens then?
Right.
That's
Right. And that's the part of having the specific and the measurable and achievable. So when you are goal setting, you should, I would never recommend to somebody, oh, great, your goal should be to work out 5 times a week. Unless you already work out 5 times a week, that's insane. That's just probably not realistic for people, right? And we know people can work out twice a week and get amazing results, depending on where they're at.
yes.
Yeah,
yes,
and depending
yes.
on what they're doing. But right. So.
But the whole the whole thing about let's say holistic. When I approach a person and we talk about goal setting and what we want to accomplish for the year, and this is a time when I'm seeing a lot of clients, patients. It's a transition time. That's when people give a lot of thought to what the new year is going to look like for them,
Sure.
what they want it to look like, and when basically part of the holistic path outline a lifestyle program, which is nutrition,
100%.
activity, exercise, sleep, rest, balance. If you can stabilize the circadian rhythms, in other words, if you have an option to sleep at night, sleep at night. That's how the human body is made.
Absolutely. And sometimes people don't make the connection. It's funny, we were actually talking about this at lunch today, but if you are sleep deprived, you are probably hungry and you probably want carbs. So it's all connected. Yeah.
The interesting thing about that is just metabolically, the one food that goes to make serotonin is carbs.
And that is true. And so you do want carbs,
because
carbs, sweet potatoes,
because you're missing serotonin. And why are you missing serotonin? Because serotonin is the hormone that comes up and it makes you feel good. It's a neurochemical. So it stabilizes your day, and then serotonin converts to melatonin at night, and then melatonin in the morning converts to serotonin again through a series of chemical changes in the body, enzymatic processes. So if you're not sleeping, you don't have a good melatonin production or cycle. Guess what? How easy is it to have a serotonin production? And how many people are actually on antidepressants unnecessarily when they can fix simple little things?
Yeah, and fix simple little things slowly, one step at a time.
One step at a time.
Being easy on themselves and creating realistic expectations. I just feel like that's so important.
If you, Rachel, if you were to outline a realistic step, let's say I'm coming to you as a client. I'm hoping I'm putting you on a spot here.
No, you're fine. Go for it. Yeah.
Let's kind of improvise a little bit.
Okay.
So say I'm coming to you as a new client. Well, I've been working with you for a while. But let's say you're seeing me for the first time. So you've read through my...
Okay, and you're saying weight loss is your goal,
and I'm saying, okay, I want to lose, let's say 15 pounds. Okay. Let's say for instance, I want to gain flexibility. I want to become more fit. I want to have more energy. And I want to be able to do everything, let's say, that I keep up with the kids.
Okay. So yeah, you just want basically a lifestyle overhaul is what you would be looking for.
So that's what I'm coming to you with, let's say.
Now, so the first thing I would try to talk you out of is looking at your weight. There are so many other things we can look at: your metabolic health, hemoglobin A1C, your fasting insulin. I would also say fasting glucose, but if you look at the research on fasting glucose, it is the last piece to change, and so often is the weight. So we would kind of try to get away from that and start working on, okay, so you want to lose weight, you want to keep up with the kids. What was the other thing you said?
Energy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Which that kind of, they all go.
It all comes together.
It does all come together.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would probably have you do is I need to know what you're currently doing, because obviously it's not working. And so I don't want to, whatever you're doing, I don't want to start suggesting, oh, you need to, and I rarely tell people to cut calories because there's many other ways to track food in a healthy way. But let me just say, for example, I said that, and then you're already completely under eating and messing up metabolism that way. So I would want to look at, what are you doing now? What's working? What's not working? And one of the best ways we can do that is by tracking food. So keeping a daily food diary is a big, big component.
It's being frank.
Yeah. And you know what? That's a really easy goal you can set for yourself is every day I will track my food. You 100% have control of that.
Yes.
We don't know what your weight's going to look like on the scale tomorrow because sleep, water retention. I mean, there's a lot of variables that come into that.
And you mentioned fasting insulin. The insulin, if it's elevated or if it's abnormal in any way, that will actually affect leptin and other things.
Yes.
And so basically you can be doing all the right things. I have people who are basically just struggling, fighting through and just literally having a hard time keeping up. And in the meantime, what they really need to do is focus on not so much on the external stuff.
Maybe some of the
internal. In other words, what's the metabolic inside?
So let's back up a little bit and talk about leptin. So leptin is the hormone that makes you feel satiated, right? Ghrelin is the one that I think of that
the
one
opposite.
Makes your stomach growl, right? If you're hungry.
Yes.
And so many people develop leptin resistance. So your cells are sending out the signal that you're full, but they're not receiving it.
And it's kind of like the situation where a person, let's say you have a dinner, or you have let's say a whole bunch of Chinese food, and like 5 minutes later you're like, I'm still hungry.
Yeah, that's right. And that's most people that develop leptin resistance, it's from diet and lifestyle, but it is also documented. Some people, that can be a genetic issue, and then when they are able to help them with the leptin, from an outside source, you can see documented how it changes the weight. So that's a big piece. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it's interesting how to, like if you're someone, and please don't take offense to this, but if you're still putting your faith in the conventional healthcare system and you're going to the white coats, hey, white coat here, don't get me wrong.
I love how he always says that, and then he's always wearing a white coat.
Yeah. Well, again,
it's perfect.
It's perfect. Yeah. But take it with a grain of salt. If it makes sense, if it works, the proof is in the pudding. If it doesn't work, let's say you've been to your doctor, they've given you the same standard advice, you're eating the same standard American diet, nothing is moving. Guess what? Something's gotta change.
And start with the slow, subtle, controllable changes. So one of them, like I said, would be, let's write down what you're eating, whether you track it in a food app, whether you write it down on pen and paper, whatever you need to do that you will do every day. And then kind of moving on from there, the next step would be, because everything's about digestion, right? And our gut and all of that stuff. We get real personal sometimes, because then it would be about tracking bowel movements. Quantity, quality. If you look at a Bristol stool chart, kind of what number they are on the chart. Also, there are things, it's kind of like getting your labs done without getting your labs done, because you can look at certain things. Not to get too graphic, but if it's floating, then you're probably not emulsifying fats properly. So, teaching you how to do that piece of it would be the next step.
Wonderful. And by the way, the gut, the GI system, is literally at the crossroads, the intersection, and it's one of the key factors, literally, with metabolism. It's the key for brain metabolism, brain chemicals, everything from dopamine to serotonin to, my God, every brain chemical there is, the greatest chemical factor in the world, but also the gut-brain connection. And the gut is literally it intersects with hormones. It intersects. Oh God, it's what doesn't the gut do?
It does everything. And I have kind of a funny farm story about that just happened over Christmas. It's funny how much we know in animal husbandry, and when we deal with the way we treat animals and for illnesses and sicknesses and things, sometimes is a little better than what we do for humans.
A lot.
Okay. So we had a goat. I can't even believe I'm telling this story. But anyway, so we had a goat that got into the sweet feed and ate itself just sick overnight. Ended up very bloated, not feeling good. It ended up in my house.
Almost like some people over a Christmas dinner.
Right. I mean, so
Yeah.
it really messed up his gut. He ended up being in my house having diarrhea all over my house. So that was fun. Like I said, I can't believe I'm sharing the story. But what's so interesting about it is what fixed him, what made him better. Of course, time was part of that. And we did give him some olive oil and baking soda to help with the bloat. But we had to basically inoculate him with a whole bunch of probiotics. We gave him electrolytes, probiotics. Guess what? Today he's being a go, getting into all the stuff. So it's just crazy to me how the vet immediately is like, this is what we do to take care of a health issue. Let's go probiotic. Let's go electrolytes. There was no, let's put you on some medication for long term or anything like that. It was very, from what you have eaten, here's how you fix your gut.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So let's continue. So what will be some of the next steps in this program or in this regimen?
So like I said, we would do the food. You would learn the bowel tracking. We would start making subtle changes with the food. And I'll be honest with you, probably 50% of my people you have to learn how to cook. If you think you're going to clean up your diet and you're going to eat out, I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen.
What about getting spouses or people who cook on board?
Oh, sure. Or you have to have somebody at home who will cook for you. That's fine too.
Right. But they have to be on the same page.
Yeah. And that I can also tell you from experience that couples who do this journey together almost exponentially always have better results than the butting heads. One's interested, one's not.
How many, let's jump in because this is a direct relation to the topic today. Let's say a husband or a wife says, okay, I'm committing to this 2020, a healthy year for me. But the other spouse says, not my thing.
And that does happen, and it happens a lot.
Okay. So what are the chances of success in that situation?
So at that point, it really comes down to the individual, how powerful their why is. We've got to reverse engineer first. We have to see if they're, this is harsh, but sometimes I don't mean separate from the spouse, but leave the spouse behind in your health journey, because ultimately it's your health journey, and be willing to be independent and do things on your own. And people do it. It's just a lot harder.
So we're not saying for people to get divorced, unless of course you want to get divorosed. Of course, I mean that we can. That's beyond the scope of the medical show here. It's it is important to have a supportive environment.
And so in that case,
Huge.
you have to find a supportive environment outside of the home. And that's why certain programs like Weight Watchers and those things work so well, because you have a network of people who all have similar goals. Really important too. One of the biggest pitfalls of setting a goal is not having accountability and support. So, I mean, I'm going to show up at your house early in the morning. So I'm there. You got to just get up. You got to do it, right?
Yes.
If you're like, I'm going to get up and I'll work out.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not saying you never do that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
It's not routine.
But here's another huge pitfall.
Yes.
People get up and say, oh, well, I just don't feel like it today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me tell you something. You're never going to feel like it unless you make yourself do it. It's a muscle and you have to use it. You have to practice it. You have to do it over and over and over again. And then maybe someday you might feel like it or you might not, but you're going to feel good the rest of the day. Yeah. So that's huge. Accountability, support, not falling into the trap of I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
And
there's feelings and emotions, and it's powerful stuff. But then again, it also goes back to the question of what's the bigger picture. And if we anytime we're talking about, I'd like to kind of put it in three different categories. So when people talk about New Year, the resolutions, or they talk about things, more that I know are focusing on the physical stuff. Physical and tangible.
Yeah.
And that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. But what you have to realize is when you set physical goals, you may meet them, you may not meet them. You may meet them and then may escape again. In other words, things change. What's a higher level? mental and emotional. Where's your thoughts? Where's your intention? What is your motivation? And that you can actually get around obstacles.
Yes, because your physical goals are almost always tied to an emotional or a mental, and everyone has different goals and different reasons and different things. But, that makes me think of one of my very, very first clients years ago. There was a lot she just didn't know education wise as far as healthy eating. But the thing that had kind of really derailed her was she had twins, and one of her twins had passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a huge emotional component to, just figuring out how to take care of yourself again, how to make that important again, that kind of a thing. So yeah, every physical goal has an emotional and a mental, spiritual component to it that you need to, like I said, reverse engineer and figure out what that is.
And there's actually an even higher level of setting. Well, not just intentions for the year, but literally, this is where it gets timeless. This is the priceless, timeless. This is the real gem of it all. And we talk about the holistic approach: spirit, soul. I'm a spiritual being. I'm a soul. I have a mental and emotional processes. Energy and emotions, and that determines and sets into pattern things that happen physically, whether it's physical activity or not, what I eat or not, and how I react, whether I allow myself to sleep, what the company, the relationships, family, work environment. Literally, Rachel, I'm going to just say it this way. As much as I hate to kind of put it in that context, we create our lives, for better or worse.
Yeah, you create your own reality.
We create our own reality. So if we, let's say, if a person, let's say, wants to be positive, but is seeing all negative, guess what?
Well, yeah, that's I'm going to mess up the saying, but where energy goes,
that's everything else follows.
That's where it flows. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in setting in setting resolutions and setting patterns of what you'd like to accomplish, literally it starts from inside out. Because if the inside world is compromised, is not in a good place, how many success stories have you had with people who haven't resolved things within them?
I mean, I don't, but what I can tell you is sometimes they resolve them and then they come back to me and it's a wonderful success story. So yeah, okay. I mean, sometimes I start with a client and we realize they're just not ready. And I know as much as I try to be an emotional support, that's not necessarily my
strength.
Right. Yeah. So sometimes they need outside help. Sometimes they just need time to process. It just depends. But yeah, so definitely getting everything right internally first is very important.
And this is basically, to me, it's if you want it, you'll get it.
That's another thing is, and I have to be, the honest, frank, being Please. With yourself. How bad do you really want it? Because I've set some goals for myself, and I find myself not doing the steps that I would need, and then I have to be like, I don't really want this that bad, so I'm not willing to get uncomfortable.
Let me give a personal example. So I actually ran a half marathon
Awesome.
at one point, and how that came around was this was right after I annihilated my ankle, and so part of me said, I was told that I'd be able to walk, but not necessarily run. So that's when I said...
So that little lit a fire.
That lit a fire under my ass, so to speak. And so I said, you know what, I wasn't ready to run a marathon. I know the training is a lot more intense for that.
But running a half marathon is still an admirable goal, for sure.
And I did that, and it was great. But right after I did that, I had a choice to continue training, but I didn't really have an interest in running per se. In other words, I like not a training for a 15 or 20 mile, but I do know that ever since I was a kid, I was always involved in martial arts. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not saying that's for everybody, but to me, and again, now it's becoming clear to me why that is important. It's not just the physical; it's the mastery. Mm-hmm. It's literally mastering my own body, knowing where my body is, and knowing my body is in the environment, in the relation to the context. And to be able to be okay in any environment to the degree that I feel safe, I feel good, and I feel proper.
And
that
that
goes back to the internal,
and that is my motivation, because when let's say I drop off, let's say we just had a couple of weeks of just complete insanity in our lives, so I didn't exercise as much as I mean we
sure, and around the holidays that tends to happen. But yeah, go ahead.
I know exactly. Yeah, but what I did notice is that I am not as strong, and I'm not as agile, and I'm not able to do things with ease that I did when I was.
Well, you had set a new baseline.
I set a new baseline,
and I want to go back to the martial arts and the half marathon. And there's something we didn't talk about, pitfalls with setting goals, which is a goal really needs to be time specific. So you had a deadline. You wanted to be able to run a half marathon, which was probably on a very specific day.
Yes.
So we knew you needed to run 13.1 miles. We know that you needed to do it on a Sunday morning at 9 a.m. on the whatever of April or something like that, right? Martial arts is very similar because you have belts, right?
That's right.
So you have
You're on a timeline.
Yeah. So you have a timeline. And that's something I think as adults we struggle with a lot more, because we don't have as many time specific goals to work towards. Like the one client with the roller coaster, that was very nice because she knew next year her kids would be going on a field trip. So it was very time specific. So if we just set this goal with no deadline, I don't,
you might get what you want.
When do you start?
But when?
Yeah. And I there's a saying that a dream is just a goal with a deadline. So,
wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Actually, let me jump in with a couple of things, actually. And I do want to some of our friends here in town, and Spring Valley. We're talking about nutrition. We're talking about things that keep you healthy. So one of the best places to find supplements, especially all Dr. Shealy's favorites, is Spring Valley. Service is fantastic, and you can get Dr. Shealy's Essentials, Youth Formula, lots of different things, magnesium lotion, bliss oils, and wonderful people, and it's a very personalized service. So great place to be. And another thing to consider is if you want to be healthy, but you're not getting your veggies in. Speaking of veggies, I mean, that should be a priority. Yep. Frozen foods, small serving, and you got enough antioxidants, nutrients, and makes you feel good. Great for cholesterol, great for blood pressure, great for metabolism, and tastes good.
Has a similar effect to vegetables, but it is a fruit. Just in case the pedantic people are out there going, that is not a veggie. Sorry.
Yes. But if you please do get your servings of fruits and veggies, because I mean that should be on everybody's to-do list for 2023, especially with everything that's GMO based and all the kind of terrible things that are out there. And
you know what? Oh,
go ahead. No, please.
Okay, I was just going to say that made me think, because we were kind of talking about what you would do for a client and how all of that would work, and we've brought up the veggies, and everyone should be eating vegetables multiple times a day. Mm-hmm. But I would never tell someone who came in who their diet consisted of, mostly fast food, McDonald's, Taco Bell kind of stuff, to start eating 6 servings of vegetables a day, because that's a very big jump. And there's a lot of repercussions to that. There's gas, there's bloating, there's all these things when your gut has to readjust. So again, when you're setting a goal, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be frank with yourself, and you have to really just start where you're truly at.
Wonderful. I do want to mention a couple of things. There is a wonderful special going on, and it's about to run out on New Year's Eve, literally, and it's one of the best deals that we ever had. PEMF, which is one of the most wonderful units that we have, 3 major functions: sweep mode to support the body, Schumann frequency, literally every cell in the body needs electromagnetic support, gamma for the brain, and also to optimize, put in a zone, control center. If you want to set the goals, if you want to get in the right place, that really helps. It's the meditator's mind. Obviously, it doesn't replace the need for meditation and training, but it sure does help. And the third mode, which is delta, which is 0 to 3 cycles per second, and that is actually good for sleep, rest, and that's for anyone who wants to achieve their dreams, their goals. That's essential. That's basic support. Part of this package, and this is something that is absolutely fantastic, but may not come back, is that we're offering 3 courses with it. Biogenics course, which is literally self-regulation, Dr. Shealy's favorite program that he created in the 70s. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, including who am I? I am a spiritual being. I have a physical body. I'm more than that. I have mental, emotional aspects. I'm more than that. So how do we achieve goals? How do we become who we are? How do we change things? Well, you realize that you have an infinite number of options. So expand your world. How do you do that? Try something different. Do something that you haven't done before. Plus essentials, which is a good B complex. Everybody should have that. By the way, that should be on everybody's New Year's resolution. If you're not taking a good vitamin B complex, that's literally energy for the cells. You need that. So Dr. Shealy Essentials, 2 of those per day. Youth Formula, which literally is a key to the youth because it raises DHEA, vitamin C, antioxidant, free radical, raises DHEA, anti-stress wellness hormone, by 60%. Magnesium topical raises DHEA as well and is deficient in the soil. One of the best things for aches, pains, nervous system. It's literally a package. And the other thing that also comes with that is also air bliss. It's a bliss oil, in other words, essential oil applied to acupuncture points, circuits, 30 seconds from the feet to the head, 12 points, and oxytocin, neurotensin. Feel good stuff. It's the bonding, nurturing hormone. It feels good. Yeah. Some people are very sensitive. Some people may need a couple of weeks of application, but either way, this package is absolutely incredible, and it goes away at midnight on New Year's Eve. So if you really want to do something really good for yourself, a gift of health, a gift of wellness, plus I think, and I don't think I mentioned 2 other courses, personal intuition, so you can learn how to trust yourself, clear all the stuff in the control center, or as much as possible, and life, youthful longevity, how to get to life 200 and beyond 100. So that's one of the best bundles that I've seen. And
and honestly, what a great way if you're going to start the new year with an easy, actionable item. If you have a PEMF device,
you can get going.
I mean, say you're going to use it 2 hours a day, an hour a day, sleep on it at night. Like what a great way to just ease into improving your health, or taking care of your health.
Start with the cellular health. Start by optimizing the trillions of cells that are in your body. It is so much easier to work with your body when you're actually optimizing the building blocks, the units. And so 15% off on PEMF until the end of the until the end of 2022. So, folks, if you want to give yourself a easy, simple gift of wellness, something that will actually get you in a really, really good place, and as well as self-regulation in this crazy world. There's all stuff all over the place. News, media, there is stuff in the air, there's stuff in the water, the food is contaminated. You want to stay healthy? Start with the control of the control center. So to me, that's one of the best ways to actually.
Absolutely. And I think we may have
some questions. I'm going to check in here. Let's see. Until further notice, I'm going to look on the phone for the questions. So question number 1, Dr. Shealy mentioned opening his capsules. I would love to not have to swallow so many. Yes, if you're taking supplements and one of the things you want to do is optimize your nutrition, macro and micro, one thing that you really need to focus on is getting those supplements, and a lot of people cannot take all those capsules. So open it up, blend it into
put it in a smoothie, put it in some water.
Yep.
Just stir it up.
And depending on the taste, you may want to hold your nose, but it goes down
I think especially if you put things in a smoothie, they hide better, and you will discover that some things you can't taste at all, and then to trial and error, you know which ones you got to plug your nose and just separate.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
it's not common. Okay, now question number 2. My PA, physician assistant, said taking magnesium can affect the heart if you take too much. What about topical makes it if it's not a threat to the heart? Okay, let's talk about magnesium. There is actually in the emergency room medicine, there is a arrhythmia or irregular life-threatening rhythm called Tarades de Pointes. I'm not saying it right. It's a French term, of course. And I'm speaking with a Russian, from a Russian, so the French and Russian don't really mix too well. But anyway, the bottom line is it's a sinusoidal wave where the heart isn't just the conduction is off, and the key there is low magnesium. So you give magnesium, but at the same time you give too much magnesium. That affects calcium, that affects potassium, sodium. So that could also be an issue. The benefit of having topical magnesium is that you bypass the liver. You bypass a lot of the things that create metabolites and downstream effects, and it literally goes to the cell, to the cellular level, which is where magnesium is needed. It's an intracellular element, so very, very important. Can you have too much? Possibly. One of the ways that you can tell that you're reaching saturation point is, and this happens with oral magnesium as well, but not so much with a degree topical, until you reach saturation point. You start to have runny bowels. Again, that's an early sign, and when that happens, back off on magnesium or take a little less, and there you go. You can measure your levels, but it's stored in the bones. It's stored in the cells. You need this stuff, and it's better to have more than less. Low magnesium is when you have low potassium. That's when you really have a hard time with atrial fibrillation, lots of different things, aches and pains, mood, mental, emotional, everything, folks, everything. Over 1,000 different processes of magnesium, plus raises DHEA when it's taken through the skin. Question number 3. Plant-based diet help repopulate your gut?
Okay, so
that's a good one.
The answer to this is eventually, but here's where sometimes people don't quite do it in the right order of operations. Is a plant-based diet is going to be feeding your gut all kinds of really great things, but if you haven't repopulated your gut
probiotics,
prebiotics that need to eat all those plant-based foods, then it's not really helping you, and you're still imbalanced, and you don't have what you need in your gut. So the priority would be make sure you're probiotic to your, so your good flora to your bad flora balance is where it needs to be. And then that's where, a heavier plant-based diet would come into play as to, healing and helping with health.
I would, if I were to advise, and some people do plant-based diet for ethical reasons. Again, that's wonderful.
Oh, and I should back up. When I say plant-based, I mean the bulk of your diet is plant, but I'm not saying only plants.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So go ahead.
Because you do need a certain amount of protein, and it's hard to get certain types of protein, especially taurine and otherwise. Mm-hmm. So if a person is plant-based, please make sure that you stay very, very careful with your other intake of fats, of especially omega-3, but also plenty of protein. And if fish, eggs, a little bit of meat. But let's say if you don't want to do that, make sure you talk to someone like Rachel, because how many vegetarians, pure vegetarian vegans, I should say, that are getting into trouble?
A lot of them. And here's the kind of tricky part about that is many people that ate a very standard American diet, the SAD diet, will switch to vegan or vegetarian. Vegan is obviously the more extreme because it's only plant. There's no animal product. And they will feel wonderful. They'll feel great because they've cut out all the crap.
Yes.
But you give it 5 years and you've started creating all these deficiency drips. So you might be low on B12. Sometimes depending on what you're not
essential amino acids.
Yeah, right, because the 9 that we get, they're all found in a meat packaged up. Otherwise, if you're getting from plants, you got to mix and match and make sure you're getting enough. So yeah, they feel great at first, and then we actually had somebody recently come to us, and they're not feeling so great. Their bone health isn't that good. Creatinine level, just a whole bunch of things.
Yeah, the whole body's starting to break down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you're not giving your body the tools that it needs. And our digestive system is designed to eat plants and animal products. We have very good gastric juices to help break down protein.
So basically, it's just a question of realizing what kind of machinery we have inside of us and how to best support that machinery. And if you are going to be primarily plant-based, and I do want to say, vegans and vegetarians, just please be careful. Don't become pastagarians or wheatgarians, because that is one of the worst things. That's literally all the garbage crap, so to speak. I mean, I can't say it nicer, but I mean, without the benefit of protein. So make sure that it's really good quality veggies if you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to go vegetarian or vegan, then it needs don't live a grain-based diet. Yeah.
And how many people do you guide? Have you guided with a vegetarian or vegan so that they can do it proper?
I mean, several, but I'll be honest with you. Eventually, almost all of them quit at some point being vegetarian or vegan,
or at least pure, very, very strict.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, another question. Can you suggest how to get rid of toe fungus? Now, toe fungus is an extension of the fungus. In other words, fungal infections is an overgrowth. Now, I'll go back to the basics. You gotta, I can certainly give some suggestions, and there are certain topical agents that a doctor can prescribe, and that works. It works very well sometimes. It takes a couple of weeks, but one thing to realize is, why is the fungus there to begin with? Now, sometimes it becomes an injury, and then it grows the wrong way. But more often, it's a sugar metabolism. That toe fungus literally is a sign. It's an indicator. As much as you don't want to look at that, it says, look inside. Look in the internal. Because look at the fasting insulin. Look at what's happening with my metabolism. Chances are there's either prediabetes, diabetes, or some kind of a metabolic disorder at the same time. So it's literally, it's a terrible thing, but it's also a wonderful indicator.
And just to be clear, metabolic disorders don't always have to be going towards the way of the weight gain. Sometimes it's the other way, where gain weight or those types of things too. So there's something going on internally.
Metabolism is really I think of it as the engine, the engine compartment of the car. It's you can have a wonderful vehicle if the engine compartment is not proper. If you're not, if it's not doing the right thing, if it's dysregulated, if the timing is off, if the enzymes are off, if the fluids are off,
And so many people continue doing what they're doing, saying I'm fine, and then one day
not fine.
They're not fine. Yeah. You may be 30, you may be 50. You may even be 70, but if you're 70 and you think you've got another 20 years to go, you certainly don't want to come to us telling us you're not fine. You want to feel good, live life.
Absolutely. Okay, another question. It appears I have osteoarthritis in my hands, swollen knuckles, bending joints, bumps on the inside and outside of some knuckles. By following some of the protocols, is it possible to reverse any of these symptoms? Okay, let's talk about arthritis. And let's talk about something called leaky gut and the concept of toxicity. What happens is, and I'm going to paint a very kind of brief picture, but just imagine garbage comes in through the mouth, digestive. It goes down. There's only a single layer defense in the gut. Let's say that gets dysregulated. There's tight junctions are not so tight. Stuff gets through. So the first layer of this defense, the first line is gone. What's the second line? Blood. Immune system. Now that gets exhausted too. What's the third, or what's another defense mechanism? Liver. Liver detoxifies a lot of stuff. Why do most people have fatty livers and eventually failing livers? It takes a long time. Liver is a tough organ, but it can only take so many hits. What happens when it goes beyond those those kind of protective pathways? Then it's literally like free radicals and terrible things flooding into the system and going to the point of the weakness. could be joints, it could be bones, it could be tissue, it could be fibromyalgia, it could be pain, it could be inflammation, it could be inflammation of all over the place, it could be specific to any organ system, it could be everywhere, from the brain fog down to the toe fungus. It's can you reverse it? Yes. Everything in the human body, within 7 to 12 years will be you're a whole new
gonna create
creature,
new cells, but
new cells. But you have to start changing patterns of those cells. Don't create more of the same sickly cycle.
I think a good analogy for that is if you have a car parked on top of a hill and it comes out of gear, and if you hop in front of it right away,
you got a chance.
You can stop the car, right?
When it's all the way down.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't even try that.
Get out of the way. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, the earlier you can do things to feed and support your body and nourish it, the better off you will be.
Absolutely. So this is how we operate here in a holistic capacity. I'm not saying that every single medical condition is reversible. We're not claiming that. We're not claiming to cure cancer. We don't claim to. Well, we don't make any claims per se whatsoever. What we do say is that a human being, you yourself, God doesn't make junk. Rachel, myself, all of us, literally. We are incredible, majestic, beautiful, powerful beings. We have a beautiful mind. We have a power. We have the capacity to create the life that we want, the body that we want. It's just a question of following through, having a system, working with people who can guide us and who can get us in the right place so that we don't have to make all the same mistakes over and over again. Definition of insanity, doing the same thing or expecting a different result. But let's say you start 2023 in the right capacity. You want to do it. You want to do this right. You want to get onto the lifestyle. You want to learn stress management techniques. You want to take care of yourself. This is an opportunity, and you can literally create the life that you want. The life that is better.
And I think a lot of creating that and wanting to do that, kind of you were talking about the internal piece, so much of that goes back to self-worth. And you have to realize you are worth doing it for. So many people don't even have that component. And it's really fundamental to taking care of yourself and knowing that you are worthy. Mm-hmm. You're here. So clearly you have value.
I was just talking to a wonderful young lady. I'm not going to say the name, but this was a great appointment, and we talked about a lot of things. Many years of a terrible marriage, literally putting up with a person who, abusive, negative. Again, and I get it. Very strong person, did it for the right reason. Just the best, the best way they could figure out for the kids and so on and so forth. But now, it's basically completely free. So now the question is, how does that person start changing their life around? And the first thing to realize is that she was never broken to begin with. Mm-hmm. She was never broken to begin with. She got into a bad funk. She got into a bad situation. And it kind of goes back, to childhood and certain pathways. But every challenge is an opportunity. Everything that goes bad, everything that makes us angry, mad, sad, pain, injury, it's a chance to learn. It's a wonderful...
If you choose.
If you choose.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose. Mm-hmm. And so I do believe this young lady is going to do amazing because she sees the potential. She knows where she came from. And her last statement to me was that she wants to take all of that experience, all that negative that she's gone through and she's survived and made it through. And she wants to learn the tools and she wants to help others who are in the same position or who were in the same, who are going through the same similar struggles. And that to me is one of the most wonderful things. Why do we go through the things that we go through? It doesn't take a doctor to heal somebody. It really doesn't. It doesn't take a degree. It doesn't take a license. Love, caring. Mother's love, father's love, family, friends. No doctor can replace that. Now, obviously, there's some expertise that might be of interest, but last but not least, there is one thing that nothing can ever replace, and that's you, and that's who you are. Whether you believe in yourself, whether you feel yourself worthy, whether you take care of yourself. Nobody else can do it for you. So we're talking about New Year's resolutions. It's good to have teams. It's good to have people on board with you. But bottom line is, if you want it, you'll get it. All you need is just proper resources.
I think we may have some more.
We may have some more questions. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Where do you put magnesium on my body? Okay. So when Rachel gives me a workout, let's say for the arms and the upper body, I put it in the arms and the upper body because I feel it for the next 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
When we do the lower body, I put it on the lower body. But in general, with my personal history in terms of having had a blowout fracture of L3, so there's a continual tightness and tension, and sometimes I have this shooting thing going down my legs. I lovingly call them my sensors. Okay, don't do this. Do something else. But it's always on the places that are tense or need attention. And how much magnesium do I use? Literally some days I use the entire bottle. Some days, some days it's just a small amount, but in general, about 4 tablespoons is pretty good.
I'm pretty generous with mine too. It's just, yeah. And I will tell you, when I was coaching runners, that was such a game changer when they learned to put that on their legs. They were like, where has this been all my life? But yeah,
yes,
I mean, it's really like a wrong, I don't know that there's a wrong way to do it.
Well, don't put it in your mouth or your eyes.
Like the super sensitive areas. Yeah.
I also know some people who are have a lot of allergy sensitivity skin wise. So if certain parts of the skin is worse than others, hey, that's know thyself. That's a big one. Okay, another question. I purchased the PEMF recently. Is it okay to wear it on a belt around my waist? Yes, actually, I would highly advise that, especially if you want to focus on that. I usually wear it, and I don't have it right now because I'm charging the unit, but I usually wear it over my shoulders. I just slide it down. I have the device with me for 24/7, literally, or as much as until I need to recharge it. At night, it gets charged, and I use the device with the Delta mode for sleep support. Under the pillow, that's Delta. That's the third mode. In the morning, I range and vary between sweep mode, which is the Schumann frequency, and also gamma. It depends on whether I need to kind of optimize my brain or I need to just kind of ground myself. And sometimes it's hard to say which one is more important, but whatever feels the best. There's no wrong.
Right. I was just going to say, kind of along the same vein, I either set, when I'm at work here in the clinic, I either set it in my lap, which is similar to just wearing it on a belt around your waist, or I sit on it. So
or you can, and if be sitting on it all day like I do in the emergency room because I don't always get to walk around with it. It gets charged, and I usually put a pillow or something over it so I don't sit on the ring itself. But
I actually sit on the ring itself. It doesn't bother me.
Okay. Well, Rachel is awesome. Let's see. We are almost out of time, so I do want to say again, for the benefit of those who want to take advantage of this opportunity to set the New Year's goals and to do something really healthy for yourself. And on the New Year's Eve, the sale, the offer that we are talking about, it literally officially ends, and the offer is 15% off PEMF 3 courses, the biogenics course for self-regulation, another course on personal intuition, so kind of getting to know yourself and how you make decisions, how you function in life, how you relate to the world, and also youthful longevity. How do you optimize health and wellness in general, and perhaps live to life beyond 100? Plus the basics and essentials, youth formula essentials, vitamin D, and Air Bliss. So I cannot think of a better package for wellness and health starting in 2023. Yeah,
jump into the year.
And then, of course, whatever other means and whatever other goals that you have, whether it's talking to and working with somebody such as Rachel, so, who is, and by the way, being back on the schedule in 2020 going to be a fantastic year for us. Personally for fitness and otherwise, again, I'm setting that intention. Not every day is going to be great, but
well, we will continue on, and the other
That's
thing
right.
is consistency is the secret sauce to success in anything.
And it's a lot better to go nice and easy and steady on a long-term basis.
Yes, it is.
I'm learning.
You finally believe me.
Yes. I've always been the weekend warrior, or basically just go until I drop, and then when you drop, it takes time to get up. So I mean, it's better to do it a different way. But thank you, folks. And unless we have any other, actually, there may be a few things here. Let's see. Okay, so no further questions that I am aware of. Rachel, anything else for the New Year's that you'd like to wish for the folks?
I hope everyone knows their worth and set some really great, specific, measurable, achievable, time-sensitive goals.
Amen. Amen, sister. And from my end, I just want to say, be holy, be happy. New Year's coming up. It's a new beginning, but every day is a new beginning, every single day. So if you want to start getting healthy, I'm going to suggest this. Start now. You don't have to necessarily commit to everything and do everything perfectly all of a sudden, but your life begins in every single second. Make this next second last, and the next second, and the next second, and every second of 2023 and onwards. And if you want to get in touch with us, we were happy to share the holistic protocols, supports, and what we learned about how to make things better. That works. Rachel, myself, the entire team. So from our team to you and to yours, blessings.
And Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year. And Merry Christmas. Best. Take care.